So I'm just around my sister's house. I'm going to be here for a few days. Another family situation that I can't get out of. So I'm not going to be at Speaker's Corner. Just thought I'd do another video though, but this time because I done a video last night in response to James from Speaker's Corner's video. I think it goes by the name of Black Hat Guy. And so I kind of broke down a video that I watched of his, and to kind of show the problems within his kind of figures and his outlook on what is going on with the grooming situation. And so it lasted an hour. I actually started it at like 5 in the morning, and I finished around 6 and uploaded it. So it's quite a long video. You can figure out where I am actually. All my haters, you can figure out where I am. Where do you think I am? What a beautiful day. So yeah, I'm gonna kind of try and break down things into a much smaller, easier, more digestible breakdown, because last night that's more of an in-depth thing, and not everyone's going to go for an hour video listening to me rambling and stuff. So I'll just kind of walk around and need a bit of fresh air actually, because that, it's a bit stifling at the moment in the house. And I'm just going shopping as well in a bit. Just went to Temple an hour ago. Yeah, and I did have my bandana on. I've just gone home and changed and come back. Yeah, so the thing about James, I'm not going to keep on attacking him personally, because I think he seems like an okay guy. I don't think he's there to be malicious or trying to kind of like, I don't know, cause problems, but he is causing problems in the sense that he's making people think what he's saying is right. And I said before, he is, in terms of grooming, a master of sophistry. Meaning that sophistry means that he is very eloquent, he's using long words, and he's very calm and collected, and he's making baseless arguments from no real facts or anything. And it's fooling people because of the way he's communicating. And we have that with not Ali Dawah, he's Muhammad Dijab. He does that a lot. And a lot of the stuff he says isn't really that intellectual. I'm a bit more of a what I call a rough stone, so sometimes when I'm talking I'm not as eloquent as others. I can be when I'm by myself like this. Unfortunately, when I get into that kind of heated situation, I become a bit of a Neanderthal and start going crazy. So I really do need to refine my way of talking and stuff, because it is becoming problematic in the sense that I can't get my message across properly from ranting and raving like a lunatic. And somebody like James is very calm. You've got that going for you. You're very calm, collected. Doesn't mean you're right, and that's something that I can learn from in terms of keeping my demeanor and my calmness, because you can lose an argument just by being too aggressive. And so I'm gonna go over what, again, very briefly though. I'm gonna try and keep it down to maybe 20 minutes if I can. Let me just double check the time. Yeah, so I'm gonna go over again why I feel that James is either deliberately or he's misunderstood the grooming epidemic and the figures. Now, once again, I will say that the CEOP, which is obviously the body that deals with sexual abuse, are the ones that categorized the crimes of sexual abuse into type 1 and type 2. Now, type 1 is what we call deals with not necessarily the age of the person. So the people that are sexually abusing somebody are not really that interested in the age per se. I'm not saying that not all of them, but on average. And so their main goal is to get somebody that is vulnerable. So the vulnerability is the main thing that attracts them to that person. So that person could be 18 and vulnerable, 20 and vulnerable, or it could be 11 and vulnerable. Now with type 2, you have obviously, remember this is the CEOP who has categorized this, and James is saying that no, you've got to lump them both together. Why would you lump them both together? They're two different crimes. So type 2 is somebody that is specifically attracted to children. So their whole kind of motivation is to do with the age of the child. So the younger or a particular age they might find attractive, they will go for that particular little kid. This is very important because you've got to separate crimes in terms of when you're dealing with them and when you're categorizing them. Now, I said in the other video that when it comes to theft, it is thieving and taking someone's property. The ultimate damage is pretty much the same. You're taking someone's property without their consent and you're violating their space. So that in itself is universal within theft. Now, when you get to the specifics, you have, two main ones, which is burglary, and then you have robbery. You have others as well, but I'm going to choose those two because those two are the two main ones: burglary and robbery. Why are burglary and robbery treated separately, even though the end consequences are still the same? Somebody's property has been taken. Because the motivation for a robbery, a street robbery, and the way to tackle that is going to be it's going to be very different from tackling somebody who, say, does a burglary. You can't tackle those two crimes in the same way. And this is the same thing when you have sexual abuse. You cannot lump somebody who's a paedophile with another group of people, whose main aim is not paedophilia. And so the only way to tackle these crimes effectively is to do this. You need to understand that, because what you're doing is you keep on conflating the figures. So you're adding, we know that around 95% to nearly 100% of paedophilia cases that we know of. Remember, one thing we're going to have to understand, within a lot of communities, like the Asian community as well, we are not open about these kind of cases. So there must be lots of paedophilia cases that are gone unrecognized or not being tackled. Whereas in the white community, they're more progressive and they're tackling this. So I'm sure that those figures are not particularly correct. I reckon you're going to have like probably 10% of minorities that are doing paedophilia as well, in my opinion. And so you have this situation where you have the crimes that are separated. So we know that paedophilia is done mainly by white Caucasian men. That is not up for dispute. No one's saying no. And this is the problem. People keep saying, why do you keep going on about the grooming? Because no one is saying that those figures about nearly all pedophiles are white is not up for contention. What you are saying in terms of type 1, that it is, that 85%, that particular figure being Asians, remember Asians, most of those are probably from a Muslim background. So I will say the Asian Muslim grooming gangs with a handful of different minorities in there, like Sikhs, Hindus, just a very small amount, which is probably in line with their population. Still doesn't make it right, but it's not way out of sync, like, a population of 4% having an 85% conviction rate for a particular crime, which is ridiculous. And so he's trying to conflate these figures together so it looks it looks better for the Asian Muslim community. So obviously if you lumped in all of the paedophilia cases, which is nearly 100% or 99% white, into the grooming cases, you would probably have a figure more closer to 25% or 20 to 25% of sexual abuse happening from the Asian community, which I say would probably be majority Muslim, from an Asian Muslim background. And so that doesn't sound as bad. It's still terrible if you think about it. Even if you have 20% and your figure is 4%, that is still atrocious. It's still atrocious. So even then it's still bad. But then you add, when you separate them, remember, I'm going to say again why you have to separate them. When you have a street groomer, or let's start with a paedophilia. When someone's doing a type 2 and they're a paedophile and they're talking about they're attracted to kids, their whole aim is to get a kid at a particular age. I don't know what age they find attractive, And then once they lose interest in that particular kid, it will be when that kid matures. Yeah. So the kid may hit 16 and then all of a sudden they're not interested in that particular child anymore. Um, Whereas when it comes to type 1, that does not happen. So what will happen is that the kid, they may even find the kid at 11, but when she hits 16, they're still interested. When she hits 17, they're still interested. When she hits 18, she's still interested. They're still interested. And so it keeps them going on and on. Yeah. So the abuse can last into their 30s, whatever, it can last for a long time. And so this is very, very important in terms of tackling that crime, because you're looking at two separate motivations and ultimately two separate consequences. Obviously, the overall consequence is still going to be the abuse of that child, and still be the abuse of if they become an adult afterwards. So this is, I don't know why this is such a difficult thing to kind of comprehend, because all the way through the conversation, though, the white gentleman, sorry if I keep calling you the white man, you are white though, so I know people get upset when I label people white or black, like that Manchester guy, Manchester guy went mad when I called someone that black guy, and he went absolute apeshit. So you're a complete complete prick, that guy. So basically, sorry, I'm trying to be good, but I always get the badness starts coming out. So you have a situation, obviously, with James making ludicrous claims. I mean, ludicrous claims. I mean, I don't even understand how he has the goal to make them. Like, he says that when he comes to the park, he's never, like, all the Muslims he's met there, none of them have got criminal convictions, but loads of Tommy Robinson fans have. How do you know if the people you meet have got criminal convictions for sexual abuse? Do you go up to someone going, have you got a criminal conviction for sexual abuse? And they go, no. Do you think someone's going to tell you in the first place? I mean, for me, yeah, if I go there, I have no clue what the criminal records are of these people at Speaker's Corner. Nothing. So how do you know? Are you working with the government? Are you an MI5 agent? Are you part of freaking the criminal prosecution service? I don't know how you're getting this particular information and making such a damning statement about a whole group of people of the Tommy Robinson side, saying that a lot of them are paedophiles, whereas the people at the park, Speaker's Corner, none of them are. I mean, absolutely rude. I mean, that's not even something that you should even be coming out of your mouth. It's just a completely ridiculous thing to say. So you then also have, obviously, this kind of denial from the Muslim community. They're getting, or the Asian Muslim, I'm going to keep using Asian Muslim because I feel sorry for the Somalians and all of these kind of guys. And they're not really in it. I mean, obviously there's a few cases, but that's probably in line with their population, so you can't go too crazy with them. But the Asian Muslim community is just like going crazy. Why do you keep on talking about it? I'm going to keep on talking about it. Yeah. Do you know when I'll stop? When there's no more cases. Now, right now, CQ UK is still dealing with around 80 to 90 cases. Sikh Awareness Society is still dealing with around 80 to 90 cases. Yeah, once all of those cases, and there's no cases for years to come forever, I'll stop talking about it. There are also still thousands of probably other girls around the country that have not even come to the police or had any kind of justice. I mean, one of the most ludicrous things that was said was that, oh, well, it's only white girls that they're doing to. Shut up, white girls only. What are you talking about? The first targets were Hindu and Sikh girls in the 80s. There's thousands of them, but they haven't gone to court because of the honor problem within our community, which is something that we need to sort out, because we're too embarrassed when someone gets abused or something to go to the police. There's thousands, man, from the 80s. I mean, I only know of one real case that went to court, and that was in 2013 of a Sikh girl, and she had the courage to go down there and actually get people prosecuted, and 5 people went down. All 4 of them were Muslim, 1 Hindu. There's always a mix in there somewhere. And guess what the guys were? They were actually, one was Afghan, one was Pakistani, one was Indian, and I think the other one was Pakistani as well. One of them was an illegal immigrant, and the other one was a Hindu. And so you have this situation, like people keep saying it's only a Pakistani problem. It's not. It's a mixture of Afghans, Bengalis, the majority are Pakistani. There's no doubt about that. But they are the biggest group within the UK anyway, in terms of the Muslim community. And so You know, people keep saying, oh, please stop talking about it. No, I'm going to keep on talking about it. I'm going to shame, and then people don't like when I say this, I will shame your community into stopping grooming. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to shame them into stopping grooming. Do you know why? Because violence hasn't worked. Talking to you hasn't worked. Exposing you hasn't worked. The only thing that will work, in my opinion, is just to embarrass you. Keep on talking about it until you get to a point where you start tackling this problem head on and admit there's a fault. Until you can admit you have a problem in your community, you cannot deal with it. Now, I'll give you an example. Every community has their own little kind of quirks and problems. In the Sikh community, we have an alcohol problem, a terrible alcohol problem. People are dying, and I nearly died once as well, falling asleep. I got hypothermia. I know 2 people that died. And it's a terrible situation. Nobody's saying in the Sikh community there's no problem. We know there's a problem, yeah, and it doesn't mean that we're tackling it properly yet. But until you actually admit there is a problem, you cannot tackle that issue. Do you understand? You cannot even get to the first stage, because all you're doing is denying and denying and denying and denying. Yeah, so you can't even get to that stage. So it will keep on perpetuating itself and getting worse and worse. Obviously, in the white community, they have their own problems as well. I mean, the white people, I mean, I don't even know where to start with their problems. I mean, they have loads of stuff. People say I don't criticize white people. But yeah, sorry, white people, that you got some crazy issues. I mean, the paedophilia going on within the white community is off the roof, and that's the truth. I mean, nearly all the crazy serial killers have been white, Caucasian. Most of the school shooters that people go to school have been white. So you have all of this crazy stuff going on within their community as well. And no one's denying that and saying it doesn't happen within their community. And the black community has their own problem, probably with knife crime and stuff. And so, you know, they're trying to tackle it. They're not saying, oh, it's not happening. They know it's happening, and they're trying to tackle this particular issue. The only community that is just burying its head in the sand and saying, oh, no, nothing's wrong, nothing's wrong, nothing's wrong, nothing's wrong, is the Asian Muslim community when it comes to grooming and raping girls all around the UK. I know that you don't like me saying that, but that's what it is. They're raping them. They're not just grooming them. They're not going out there going, oh, come on, I'm stroking your hair. No, they're getting them on drugs, pimping them out from an age of whatever, 11, and then going up to whatever age. And the thing is, you know, I had someone, like in the conversation, they were saying, oh, I think James said, oh, what do you want them to do to sort the problem out? How can they police their own community? How can they police their own community? Let's think about it. You know, do you need to be a brain surgeon to understand how to police your own community? Now, I said it in the video yesterday. If you have an individual, that is coming over to you, like it could be your cousin, and they go, I've got this girl I'm meeting up with, she's 12 years old, and you know, we're gonna, I'm paying like 50 quid, whatever, do you want to join in? What would you say? What do you think you should say to that particular cousin of yours? What would you say? Think about it. Do you need to think about it? You would either smack them in the mouth. I don't agree with violence all the time, but you would definitely shop them to the police. And no, you should shop them to the police. Instead, what's happening is that, you know, you have whole swathes of families, brothers, cousins, uncles, you know, people in their 40s and 50s, all going out to these kind of little orgies they're having with little children and stuff. And it's completely fine within their community to do this. It doesn't make sense. A paedophile, at least, you know, they have some embarrassment, and what they do is like they like in their own little kind of like thingy, like a little ring, but they're not like propagating it within families and going, oh, let's all go out together and do this. You know, I've said it before, like if somebody in your family is saying to you they have a 12, 13-year-old girl and they're prostituting her and she's on drugs and stuff, and you think that's normal when you go out and you're actually participating, then you are the devil, you know? You are a devil. You need to be locked up or chucked out of the country. And this is what has been going on for 40 years. Yeah, and this is why the Muslim community has such a bad reputation, the Asian Muslim community, because they do not understand this moral dilemma that it's quite easy for other people to understand, but for some reason in their brain it's normal. and I don't understand the concept of it. Now I've had kind of people saying to me, oh, it's like, from meat body and all that. I'm sick and tired of all these meat body and whatever you call them. I'm sick and tired of it. I've seen so many from all over the place that it doesn't make sense. Like, it's just them. There's loads of them all over the place, from all different ethnicities within the Asian thingy. The main one obviously is from the Pakistani side, and then you have, obviously, like with the CEOP figures, people are trying to kind of dismiss them now. One of the things that James keeps on doing is just not using anything beyond 2011. Now the survey that the CEOP published was published in 2013, and that's where they separated the categorization from type 1 and type 2, and what they were basically doing was to, obviously, they didn't separate the two. I'm going to say this again because they're Islamophobes. They didn't go and they were sitting in an office going, all right, how are we going to target the Muslims and make them look really bad? Oh yeah, let's get a whole new category called type 1 sexual abuse, grooming, or for vulnerability, and let's target them. Do you think that's what they did? No, they were doing it to effectively combat these particular two very specific sexual abuse that was going on, and so they had to do it that way. You stop being a victim all the time. Like, I'm sick and tired of it. I'm the victim. Oh, they're picking on me. Well, stop raping then, and stop going around the country doing all this bullshit, and then people will stop speaking about it. It's pretty obvious, isn't it? So you then have the COP figures, and in there it clearly states that when it comes to, from 2013, when it comes to the grooming or from vulnerable girls, 75%, remember this is a CEOP official figures, were from Asian backgrounds. Obviously we know a majority of those would have been from a Asian Muslim background. So 72%, 75% in 2013. Now by the time, everyone always trashes Quilliam. Just because you don't like Quilliam as an organisation doesn't mean that their figures are wrong. Now, when you look at the statistics, it went up to 84%, yeah, over that 5-year period from 2013 until 2018. Now, why do you think that is? How did it jump? It's only 9 points, but why would it have jumped 9 points? You had Rotherham, you had Oxford after that, you had Telford. You had all of these cases that then came into effect after 2013. So all of these were then put onto that particular figure, and it then went up to 84%. So it makes sense it's 84%, because the original CEOP figures was 75% just in 2013. Obviously you don't like hearing that, because obviously it's embarrassing, and you should be embarrassed. Yeah, you should be walking around with your head in shame. It is embarrassing. Like, this is a complete and utter a terrible, shameful situation that has been going on for such a long time, and the Sikhs have been bashing their freaking heads against the wall all the time. And it's only till it hits your doorstep that you realise, even myself, I was very complacent, till it hits your doorstep, then you're like, damn, this is like really, really sick. Like, the effects on girls afterwards, you don't understand. Like, I've spoken to people, Muslims, and they don't seem to have a concept, in my opinion, of age, which is very weird. Like, even the most sensible Muslim, when I said, oh, my cousin was 14, oh, well, she was old enough, she should have known what she was doing. It's like, what are you talking about, man? I've met some 14-year-old girls that they act like they're freaking 8-year-olds. Like, they look mature, but they're not mentally ready. And so I think because of the understanding, I don't want to go into it too much, but their understanding of age, yeah, and why they probably are like that, but they've got a different concept of age, and so they don't really see an issue if a girl is like 12, she's an adult female, as long as she's, what they say, menstruating or whatever it is. And so they have a very weird concept of what I call consent. So their idea of consent is, oh, well, as long as she's of a particular age and she's developing, that she's then a woman to them. And so that needs to be stamped out really hard as well, because you can't be having people walking around thinking like this. It's a very destructive way to think. Also, people have been kind of saying that it is to do with Islam. I've read some comments. I'm still a bit dubious about that. I think the sexual frustration from uh, the Muslim community is what's doing it. They've got a very unhealthy view on women. Everything about women in their particular, a lot of stuff about women in their particular faith is that they're objects that need to be covered, and so they're like they need to be covered. I remember I believe in modesty as well, up to a certain degree. Like I don't, but we're in the West. If a woman wants to wear whatever, that's up to her. But you've got to control yourself. You know, I said before, like when it comes to like modesty and stuff, Islam is all the way over here on the extreme. Sikhs are in the middle, and then the West is probably over here, yeah, on the other side. And so when someone from that side sees someone from the other extreme who's not dressing like the way they think, yeah, they go crazy because their hormones and stuff are not capable. They're not mentally capable of thinking. People who are in the middle, I can see somebody who's dressed in a particular way and still not have any problems with it because I'm in the middle anyway. And men and women within the Sikh community are mixing all the time. I just went to the temple now and they were cooking in there. Well, I mean an hour ago, they were cooking in there, all of them together. Like, nothing was happening. No one was doing anything. It's just, they're just cooking and eating as well next to each other. So we have a more healthy, balanced view of women, and that we don't just see them as this kind of sex object that needs to be covered. If you don't cover it, then you just can't control yourself if they're uncovered. And this is a massive, massive problem that needs to be seriously looked into, because you're giving a boy. Some boys are little horny little devils. I've never really been that sexual, to be honest with you, but I like I said in my other video, I've known people that like frothing at the mouth like half the time, like they're so freaking lustful. And so you have people like that and they can't control themselves, and other people can. And so then you have a problem. Like if you're like that and you're 16, 17, 18 years old and you're in a ghettoized area up north, and then all of a sudden you're out and you see these girls that are half not wearing too much and they're drinking and stuff, you're not equipped mentally to deal with it. All you're going to think is they're sluts and let's take advantage of them, which is what's been happening. I'm not going to go on too long because I don't want the video to be too long, this one. But like I said, I'm just going to really keep on. I'm not going to be there this Sunday. I can't go just because of family situation. But I'm going to keep on pummeling on, and I don't care if it hurts your feelings. I've said it before. I don't care. Cry as much as you want, whinge, call me whatever you want. I'm still going to carry on when it comes to this situation. Just stop it. Just stop it. It's very simple. Get your community and start to kind of figure out a way to tackle it without blaming everybody else and saying, we're getting picked on. We're getting picked on. You're not getting picked on. Yeah, these are the facts. You cannot hide from them. The Sikhs have been moaning about it for such a goddamn long time, and it's just unbelievable. There's still cases going on today that it should have been resolved. I mean, people have gone prison for God's sakes, man. Even that case in 2013 with the Sikh girl, when I read it, the guys went prison, yeah, who tried to defend that girl, and 7 of them went prison. It's like unbelievable. They rushed the restaurant and they went prison. So you cannot just keep on letting this happen. People's lives are being destroyed. Your community's reputation is being wrecked beyond belief. And I'm not even sure if it can be fixed within this generation. It will probably take another generation because the after effects are so bad. And what you need to do is to just sort out the problem, stop blaming people, and don't listen to James when it comes to grooming. Remember I said he's the master sophist, or is it sophistry? All he does is just use eloquent words, speaks calmly, and comes out with verbal diarrhea. Sorry, I think you're an alright guy now, but when it comes to this situation, I'm going to be pretty brutal. I don't think you know what you're talking about. You have no understanding of the Asian culture or the Sikh Hindu dynamic, and just looking at it from a perspective that is unproductive, because you have no understanding of the history. That's all I'm going to say to you. I mean, I will have a conversation with you, obviously, like I said, out further down, and we'll talk about men's rights as well. I want to talk about circumcision, actually, which I think is a massive, massive crime against humanity, against men. And so I would love to talk about that with you. When it comes to grooming, you're lost, bro. You're actually doing a disservice to that community because they're going to be listening to your videos thinking that there's not a problem, and until they can tackle that problem, it's just going to get worse. And if you just keep on bury your head in the sand if you want, dude. The Muslim Asian was bury it. Just bury your head in the sand and say nothing's wrong, and watch what's going to happen in the future. It's not going to be a pretty sight, man. I don't want that. Yeah, I don't want anything happening. So you need to sort it out, man. I don't want anything to happen, because at the end of the day, you know, I want to live in a peaceful country. But if you don't tackle this issue head on and admit there's a problem, I can only see bad things coming. Anyway, I'll leave on a positive note. Anyway, I'm going shopping now, but I should be back to Speakers Corner the week after. I'll be uploading videos here and there, some art ones as well, hopefully. Anyway, take care.